instinctively that much was expected of her. And while it was desirable that she could play all 12 of the Grand Etude rather than just 11, in the end her training was not about music, or languages or deportment, but about discipline, control, and self-denial. Love was never a consideration. Her opinions were never a consideration. Best that she remained detached from the process, for she was but a cog in the great machinery of marrying well. That night, however, she sobbed for this man, who, like her, had no say in the direction of his own life. But the great machinery of marrying well ground on. 2 weeks after the late Earl Fitzhugh's funeral, the Graves hosted his distant cousin, the new Earl Fitzhugh, for dinner. Millie knew very little of the late Earl. She knew even less of the new one, except that he was only 19, still in his last year at Eton. His youth disturbed her somewhat. She'd been prepared to marry an older man, not someone close to her own age, but other than that, she dwelled on him not at all. Her marriage was a business transaction. The less personal involvement from her, the more smoothly things would run. Unfortunately, her indifference, and her peace of mind, came to an abrupt end the moment the new Earl walked in the door. Millie was not without thoughts of her own. She very carefully watched what she said and did, but seldom censored her mind. It was the only freedom she had. Sometimes, as she lay in bed at night, she thought of falling in love, in the ways of a Jane Austen novel. Her mother did not allow her to read the Brontes. Love, it seemed to her, was a result born of careful, shrewd observation. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, for example, did not truly consider Mr. Darcy to have the makings of a fine husband until she had seen the majesty of Pemberley, which stood for Mr. Darcy's equally majestic character. Millie imagined herself a wealthy, independent widow, inspecting the gentlemen available to her with wry but humane wit, and, if she were fortunate enough, finding that one gentleman of character, sense, and good humour. That seemed to her the epitome of romantic love, the quiet satisfaction of two kindred souls brought together in gentle harmony. She was, therefore, entirely unprepared for her internal upheaval when the new Earl Fitzhugh was shown into the family drawing-room. Like a visitation of angels, there flared a bright white light in the centre of her vision. Haloed by this supernatural radiance stood a young man who must have folded his wings just that moment so as to bear a passing resemblance to a mortal. An instinctive sense of self-preservation made her lower her face before she'd quite comprehended the geography of his features. But she was all agitation inside, a sensation that was equal parts glee and misery. Surely a mistake had been made. The late Earl could not possibly have a cousin who looked like this. Any moment now he'd be introduced as the new Earl's schoolmate, or perhaps the guardian Colonel Clement's son. "Millie," said her mother, "let me present Lord Fitzhugh. Lord Fitzhugh, my daughter." Dear God, it was him. This mind-bogglingly handsome young man was the new Lord Fitzhugh. She had to lift her eyes. Lord Fitzhugh returned a steady blue gaze. They shook hands. "Miss Graves," he said. Her heart thrashed drunkenly. She was not accustomed to such complete and undiluted masculine attention. Her mother was attentive and solicitous, but her father only ever spoke to her with one eye still on his newspaper. Lord Fitzhugh, however, was focused entirely on her, as if she were the most important person he'd ever met. "My lord," she murmured, acutely aware of the warmth on her face and the old master perfection of his cheekbones.